Can you hear me? Please tell me, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now let us begin with the last chapter of the last module of the subject. The last chapter of the last module, sixth module, is on hazards and disaster management plans. How do we get prepared for the hazards and disaster management? Who are the people responsible for it? How the government machinery has to work? Which are the organized system for taking care of the hazards and disaster management? All these things we are going to discuss in this chapter. Sharing of responsibility is the fundamental principle of hazards and disaster management. Sharing means the central government, the state government, the district administration, and the people. They all have to get involved. But the authority is vested with the central government and state government. The primary responsibility is with the state government to be assisted every time by the central government. So it's a matter of concurrence between state government and central government. State government is the agency to take care of it, but any time will be assisted by government of India. So if a flood is coming or an earthquake is coming or a cyclone is coming to Kerala, action is to be immediately taken by the state government. Definitely, the government of India has to provide all the facilities. You must have heard and read that whenever there is some flood, the Navy, the disaster management force, the rapid action force, all these people will come from the government of India to Kerala to take care of this. Okay, that is the similarly resources. Whenever we have a lot of loss to the agriculture, to the housing, etc., the government of India will give us special grants or special aids. That is all understood there. Then what are the guiding documents for disaster management? You know that for everything there has to be a guiding document. When you are studying different subjects, you study that there are some guiding documents. Similarly, for every religion, say for Christians, the Bible is the guiding document. For Jews, the Torah is the guiding document. For Muslims, the Quran is the guiding document. And obviously, Hindus don't have a single guiding document. They have got multiple guiding documents. But still in Hindu mythology, we always say about Prasthana Traya, 3 books, which are supposed to be the guiding documents. Those guiding documents are supposed to be Brahma Sutra, Bhagavata, and Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, that's all, it's a belief system. But most of the monotheistic religions always have a single document. Monotheistic means only one god they advocate. Hindus have got more gods. That is a difficulty. Okay. So the Disaster Management Act 2005 in India is the single guiding document. Everything else in India is written as per this. The Disaster Management Act DMA 2005. It is passed by the government. I'll discuss that. Based on the Disaster Management Act 2005, there is a big book which is called the Guidelines by NDMA. NDMA stands for National Disaster Management Act, NDMA. And of course, the act is very specific. And based on that, there is another disaster management plan for the state and district. These are all based on NDMA. Then the disaster management plan has to be prepared by all the concerned departments. Say, for example, the flood is there, the irrigation department, the forest department, the revenue department, they will all have their own departmental action plan. You know, in Kerala, if flood is coming, the departments which are to be alerted is the police department, the fire department, and now the fire department is called Fire and Rescue Department. Then the irrigation department, the highways and roads department, the electricity board, then of course the forest department. All these people have their own guidelines. Departmental guidelines are there. That is what is called the disaster management plan prepared by the departments. Then instructions issued from time to time by government. You know that whenever there is a disaster, every day evening the state chief minister is coming on television. You would have seen for so many days now. Whenever flood is there or pandemic is there, and he issues some directions there. He says that this should be done and this should not be done. And by the same night or next day morning, that comes as a government order. So they are the instructions issued by the government. And then practices and precedents. Practices means good practices, what we are supposed to do. The government as well as the people. Say, for example, the flood is coming, people are drowned, no way to escape. Naturally, boats have to be reached. The boats, either the experts or the laymen, the fishermen, bring their boats and rescue people. That is a practice, a good practice. Practice need not be always a government order. Government cannot order the fishermen to come and rescue the people by boats. It's a practice. It's their goodwill. They come and rescue. Okay. Similarly, there's a wildfire occurring. Some good people go and rescue the animals. Quite possible. They'll make an escape way for the animals and they'll do it. That's a good practice. It's not by order. Then precedence. Precedence means if something happens, next time the same thing happens, people know what they did in the previous time. Maybe sometimes good and sometimes bad. I think I told you a story about precedent. It can also happen. I don't know whether you remember that story. When the grandfather died, there was a cat in the house, and the father locked that cat in the room and did the obsequial ceremonies for the dead body. When this father died, the son who was observing all these things earlier remembered that there was a cat locked inside a room. At that time, there was no cat in the house, so he brought some cat from somewhere else, locked inside the room, and then did the obsequial ceremonies after the death of his father. That's a bad precedent. But there may be good precedents. Say, for example, it happened in flood. In 2018, when the flood came, everybody was non-prepared and the casualty was very heavy. But in 2019, when the flood came, people knew what to do. They had precedents. Precedent means something which happens before. Precedent means Mungala Anubhav, something which has happened earlier. So when we know the precedent, say for example, the first time when you fail a paper in the examination, it will be unbearable, very painful. But second time, if you fail a paper, you have got the precedent, so you can handle it very easily. You will not be that much upset. And if you are a regular failure in examination, it's not going to even affect you at all because the precedents are there. That is it. Okay. Similarly, for disaster also, it can happen like that. If some past experience is there, they can handle the situation more effectively. Then, what are the natural calamities? The natural calamities are drought, which are widespread, means covering a big area. Drought, flood, cyclone, and tidal disasters, earthquake and volcanic eruption, heavy rain, and heat wave. Heat wave is not that common in Kerala. Heat wave is common in Delhi, UP, Rajasthan area, because heat wave means heat will be so high when you move out. The heat wave is very common in most of the Gulf countries. When you move out, you will feel your body is getting heated up and you are unable to bear it. That is heat wave. Okay. So heat wave is common in most of the hot countries. And in our syllabus in this chapter, we are supposed to focus on flood and cyclone. We are supposed to focus. But anyway, it's the same procedure for everything. So I'm going to discuss in general, which is applicable to flood and cyclone and every other disasters. Then there are some localized disasters. Gale wind. Gale wind means manjikattu. Tornado. Tornado we have seen earlier, Chudalikat, vertical Chudali is called tornado. Hailstorm. Hailstorm means the wind in which ice pieces will be there. Then fire accident. Then accident relating to communication and transport. Say an electrical accident or a bus accident or a train accident. Then lightning or thunder squall. Lightning is always accompanied by thunder squall. Then virulent epidemics. Virulent epidemics, now we are facing that. Say virulent epidemics. Now, the COVID-19 is a very virulent. It's the biggest that the world has seen so far. Even the influenza or any such the Wheals disease or anything which happened in the past was not up to this level. This is the highest impact. Maybe the death was much more earlier. Death was more earlier. That the Spanish flu had the highest number of deaths. It is reported that around 5 to 10 crores of people died in Spanish flu. Whereas in the COVID so far, the death is, I think, below 20 lakhs only all over the world. Death is not very high because we have some medicines and now we came out with the vaccination. But when the Spanish flu was there was no antibiotic available. Antibiotic was in its initial form. Though Louis Pasteur has come up with some antibiotic principles, Spanish flu couldn't be contained in that. Moreover, it killed in certain European countries alone. Spanish flu was not there in India. It was not there in China. It was in Europe only. Even there, 5 to 10 crores people it has killed. But COVID couldn't do that much. So, though COVID affected all the countries, most of the countries, out of 196 countries, almost 180 plus countries have been affected by COVID. Even then, the death is very less because our science and technology has improved. Then locust menace. Locust. There is an English film by name Locust. Locust. What do you understand by locust? Can anybody say locust? Anybody knows the attack meaning of locust? Please put in chat box. What do you understand by locust? I don't know any of you have seen that film Locust. I have seen it long back. I think when I was studying for BTech, nearly 40 years back. So forget about it. Now, just see what is the meaning of locust. Can anybody give me the meaning of locust? Anybody? No idea.
Grasshopper അല്ലേ sir?
എന്തോ?
ഒരു kind of grasshopper അല്ലേ?
ലോക്കസ്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഗ്രാസ് ഹോപ്പർ അല്ല. എല്ലാ കീടങ്ങളെയും ലോക്കസ്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറയാം. എല്ലാ പ്രാണികളെയും നശീകരണം ചെയ്യുന്ന എല്ലാ പ്രാണികളെയും. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ, ചിലപ്പോ വെൻ യു സ്വിച്ച് ഓൺ ദ ലൈറ്റ് അറ്റ് ഇൻ ദ ഈവനിങ്, ഓൾ ഓഫ് എ സഡൻ ദിസ് എന്താണ് അതിന് പറയാറ്, ദറ്റ് ഈ ലൈറ്റ് ഇടുമ്പോൾ മഴക്കാലത്ത് വന്ന് കൂടുന്ന ജീവികളുടെ പേര് പറയും, പറന്നു വരുന്ന ദാറ്റ് വിങ് ഡാൻസ്. ഐ ഫോർഗോട്ട് ദാറ്റ്. നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ പറയുന്ന വാക്കാണ്. മഴക്കാലത്ത് സന്ധ്യ ആകുമ്പോൾ വീട്ടില് കുറേ സ്വാം ഓഫ് ഈയാമ്പാറ്റ. യെസ്, ഈയാമ്പാറ്റയ്ക്ക് ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ എന്താ പറയുക? ഐ തിങ്ക് ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് എഫെമറ. ഈയാമ്പാറ്റ. ഓക്കെ. സോ ദീസ് തിങ്സ് വിൽ കം ഇൻ എ സ്വാം. സ്വാം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ കൂട്ടത്തോടെ വരുന്നതിനാണ് സ്വാം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. സോ ദാറ്റ്സ് എ ലോക്കസ്റ്റ് അറ്റാക്ക്. ആ സമയത്ത് നിങ്ങൾ പുറത്തെവിടെയെങ്കിലും ഇറങ്ങി നിന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ദേഹം മുഴുവൻ അതുകൊണ്ട് പൊതിയും. So you will stay inside the house at that time. That is actually an indication of that rainy season is coming. Similarly, some years back in Tamil Nadu, there was a locust attack. വെട്ടുക്കിളി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ലോക്കസ്റ്റ് അറ്റാക്ക് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. വെട്ടുക്കിളി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ വലിയ കിളിയൊന്നുമല്ല. അതിപ്പോ ഹൂ ടോൾഡ് ദിസ് ആൻസർ? ഇപ്പൊ ആരാ പറഞ്ഞത്? യെസ്, മരിഹ ഹാസ് റിട്ടൺ വെട്ടുക്കിളി. വെട്ടുക്കിളി ഈസ് ഓൾസോ എ ലോക്കസ്റ്റ്. യെസ്. അതുപോലെയുള്ള വെട്ടുക്കിളി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ വലിയ കിളിയോ പക്ഷിയോ ഒന്നുമല്ല, ഒരു ചെറിയ വിട്ടിൽ പോലുള്ള ഒരു സാധനമാണ് വെട്ടുക്കിളി. സിമിലർലി ഇൻ സംടൈംസ് വാസ്പ് മേ ബി എ ലോക്കസ്റ്റ്. ചില രാജ്യങ്ങൾ വാസ്പ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ കടന്നൽ. കടന്നൽ ഇങ്ങനെ കൂട്ടമായിട്ട് വന്ന് ആക്രമിക്കും. ദാറ്റ്സ് ഓൾസോ എ ലോക്കസ്റ്റ് അറ്റാക്ക്. ആൻഡ് സംടൈംസ് സം റോഡൻസ്, ചെറിയ എലിയെ പോലുള്ള ചെറിയ ജീവികൾ കൂട്ടത്തോടെ വരും. Okay, so these are all locust menace. Menace means danger. Then pest attack. Pest attack means, say for example, paddy. Rice is a cultivation in Kerala. ചില സമയത്ത് ചില പ്രദേശത്ത് മൊത്തത്തിൽ മുഞ്ഞ. മുഞ്ഞ is a pest. മുഞ്ഞ is basically, I think it's a fungus. അത് മുഞ്ഞ is a bigger size fungus. മുഞ്ഞയുടെ ആക്രമണം ഉണ്ടാവും. Similarly, the coconut trees will be attacked in a large area by snails. ഈ സ്നെയിൽ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ് മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുക? ചെല്ലി. ദി സ്നെയിൽസ് വിൽ അറ്റാക്ക് ദി കോക്കനട്ട് ട്രീസ്. ചെല്ലി ബാധ എന്ന് പറയും. ദീസ് ആർ ഓൾ പെസ്റ്റ് അറ്റാക്സ്. ഓക്കെ. സിമിലർലി അതർ കലാമിറ്റീസ് ഓൾസോ ക്യാൻ കം ലോക്കലൈസ്ഡ്. Even elephant coming may be a localized natural calamity. I told that elephant came near to half a kilometer away from my house. So it's a calamity. People were afraid really, because elephant has got a peculiar nature. If it takes one route once, it will again come by that route. Elephant's memory is so sharp, it knows only that route. Even after years, it will take that route only. It's a peculiar programming in elephant's mind. Okay. So these are all examples of natural calamities. And what are the objective of the relief measures? So, taking care of the disasters, taking care of course, natural calamities only we have to take care of. Man-made calamities, the man stops it, it is over. Say, for example, industrial pollution. It's a big calamity, but we have to stop it. But natural calamities, we have to be trained on how to take care of it. And in case a natural calamity comes, what the government machinery should do, what the public should do, what the NGOs. NGO means what? What do you mean by NGO? ഞാനിത് ക്ലാസ്സിലാണ്, അങ്ങോട്ട് വിളിക്കാം. What do you mean by NGO? Anybody? NGOs have a great role in dealing with natural calamities. Anybody? What do you mean by NGOs? No idea. After getting a degree and after getting employed somewhere, you will also be interested in joining some NGOs. NGO, the full form is non-governmental organization. In India, such thousands of non-governmental organizations are there, which are not government organizations, but which are involved in voluntary service. Can anybody tell the name of a well-known NGO? Anybody? An NGO. NGO is a voluntary organization. The Sevana Sangadanayana. Their purpose is, even while the flood was there, COVID was there, so many NGOs are there in activity. Can anybody tell the name of an NGO? Not you. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയാവുന്ന ഒരു സന്നദ്ധ സംഘടനയുടെ പേര് പറയും. Name of an NGO. Put in the chat box. Nobody knows? Nation has written cry. Cry is a what is the full form of cry, Vigneshra? I was knowing it, I forgot it. It's an NGO. So many such NGOs are there. Seva Bharati is there. Then what is the other NGO which is very popularly known to you? പാലക്കാട് ജില്ലയിലുള്ള ചില സന്നദ്ധ സംഘടനകളുടെ പേര് പറയൂ. Yes, CRY. Vigneshwaran has given it rightly. CRY, the full form is Child Right and You. Then Mariha has given Red Crescent. Yes, Red Crescent, Red Cross. These are all NGOs. And in Palakkad Collectorate itself, 2-3 NGOs are working. I forgot all their names. Whenever you want to remember, it doesn't come. NGO means non-governmental organization. Vishwas. Vishwas is in Megha has written it. Vishwas is working in Palakkad Collectorate. Vishwas has got an office in front of the collector's chamber, ground floor. I have been there on their request many times. So that is an NGO. So many such NGOs. For example, Palakkad, there is a music and cultural organization, Swaralaya. That is also an NGO. These are all NGOs can be registered or non-registered. Registered means you have to register with the government, so it is called a registered NGO. If it is not registered, it can work. Only thing is, it should not do any financial deal. Only registered organizations are permitted to do financial deal. Okay. So they also have a lot of, actually in many of the disasters, even now you see when this COVID is going on, many of the NGOs are involved in providing food to the people, providing medicines, providing PP kits, providing learning materials to the students, etc., etc. So NGOs are doing. Similarly, village communities, many places, the village people, the panchayat or the panchayat member or the ASHA workers, they're all part of the duty this time. Say, the COVID vaccine is entirely now done by the ASHA workers and the primary health centers in Kerala. That's also a relief measure for the disaster. Then boosting of the morale of public in times of disasters. This well-known people can do. Say, for example, you would have seen film stars, political leaders coming on screen and telling that, don't get upset, we will overtake this situation like that. It is morale boosting or motivating. And approach to relief to be both preventive as well as maintenance of a common standard of economic health of people. So in the time of, pandemics or disasters, people do give a lot of donations so that the others can survive. Now, many of the people are finding it difficult to survive, even for livelihood. No work. Many have become jobless. No industries are properly working. So, poverty and famine is going on everywhere. That is why, a good number of people donate to the Chief Minister's Relief Fund, Disaster Relief Fund. And Chief Minister is coming every day evening and announcing it. And that fund is going mostly, I cannot say everything, but mostly it will be going as some relief to the people. Relief to the people means some kits, some medical assistance, etc., etc., is going from that. So these are all the ways in which relief measures can go. And then what are the principles of relief measures? Based on what principle it should work? So when the relief measures are there, should go to exactly the area where natural calamity has happened. Say, for example, Kutanad area is flooded. Your relief measure has to go to Kutanad area. So whoever is the desired recipient or the targeted recipient, they should get it. It's not enough that you gave the relief measures, but it should reach the people. It should reach the needy. That is the thing. Then another thing is shelf of projects to be kept ready to be switched into operation in case of natural calamity. So, for example, if a flood is coming, we will get the prediction 2-3 days back. So we should keep things ready, food, medicine, etc. We have to keep ready so that in case of an emergency, we can use it. Similarly, some of the natural calamities we can predict well in advance. A drought, for example, Varalcha. Drought means Varalcha. It can be predicted even weeks in advance. So we can be ready with food supplies and water supplies. Planning time will be there because we are talking about planning in this chapter. Then relief should be given at the time of necessity, not after necessity. Say now poverty is there, things have to be given now, not after the event is over. We have to combat the tragedy, and that should be given then. A medicine which is to be given today, there is no point in giving after 1 year. So that should be the common sense. Then similarly now the North India, the farmers are on strike. They are saying so many, they are requesting so many like new seeds, agricultural facilities, irrigation facilities, credits from banks, that is advances or loans from banks, then methods to prevent pest attack. All this require. For example, when the farmers are in trouble or their produce, their products they cannot sell, so the government will have to fix a ground rate and buy it. That happens in Kerala many times when farmers are unable to sell paddy. The government will fix up a procurement price and ask the government agencies to buy it and store it, so that when the readily available stock is over, this can be let out to the marketing for distribution. And policy is not to be relief centric. Policy is to be people centric. People centric means policy should not be just for the name of the say we are giving flood relief. That should not be policy. Policy should be we are giving relief to the flood affected people. People are more important. It's not the system which is more important. It's the victims which is more important. Then, for example, in many cases in flood and all, the buildings will be damaged. So even after the flood is over, if the people have to come and stay back at their house, we need maintenance of the house and the clearance of the sand crust over that area and removal of the mud from inside the house. All these things will be required and the relief measures have to be based on that. Then what are the administrative relief organization to be done? Other relief centric administrative organization to be done. So as I told, the relief management is a collective responsibility of the state government. State government is having a disaster management cell. I don't know whether you are aware of it. I think I have posted to you some of the government orders regarding the extension of classes. I have posted in the students groups. That was released by the disaster management cell of the government of Kerala. It is chaired by an additional chief secretary, the disaster management cell. The disaster management cell of the government will take over the control of such things whenever there is a disaster. So now it is their time. The disaster is going on. The pandemic COVID-19 is going on. And our disaster management cell is very effective because they are the people who have to control things. If they don't control it, it will spread like anything. And then obviously, as I told, there is an additional chief secretary at state level. There are so many others involved. One of the most important departments in the state, in Kerala, all the district collectors are the most important parts of the mechanism. District collectors are coming under which department? Anybody has any idea? District collectors are coming under which department? To which minister they are reporting? Or to which government secretary? Any idea? District collectors are reporting to which government secretary? Anybody? Because at the district level, like the governor in the state, the collector is at the district. Like the chief minister at the state, the Jilla Panchayat president is in the district. The governor comes under which department? Anybody? Sorry, the district collector. Okay. The district collector, under him, ADM is there. Just below the district collector, ADM. ADM means district collector is also the district magistrate in every district. In Kerala, they are called collectors. In North India, instead of collectors, they are called district magistrates, DM. They are executive magistrates. There are two types of magistrates, executive magistrates and legal magistrates. Legal magistrates are there in the court, but executive magistrates, they have got vast power regarding the law and order of the district. The law and order of the district is under the control of district magistrate, and district magistrate is collector. Then there is a subdivisional officer, SDO. They are called sub-collectors. They are the subdivisional magistrates. Say, for example, in Palakkad district, there are 3 subdivisional magistrates. So one is at Palakkad. Only 2 are there. One is at Ottapallam. 2 subdivisional magistrates. Okay. So subdivisional magistrate is also called the sub-collector. And district magistrate is called the district collector. Then under the sub-collectors, there are the tahsildars. Tahsil means a taluk. In Palakkad district, how many taluks are there? Palakkad is a taluk, Chittoor is a taluk, Ottapallam is a taluk. Now Pattambi is also a taluk. Like this, I think 7 taluks are there in Palakkad district. So the taluks are controlled by the tahsildars. And then the block is same as an MLA constituency. In Palakkad district, there are 11 blocks, I think. So 11 MLAs. So Malampuzha is a block. Then Chittoor is a block, Palakkad is a block, like that blocks are there. Pettapalam is a block. So every block has got one block development officer. He is in charge of the block development. Okay. So Tahsil is controlled by Tahsildar. Tahsil in Kerala we call, Tahsil is a North Indian word. In Kerala we call as Taluk. Then state level committees are there to handle the calamities. Then district level committees are there. Then Panchayat Samitis and Gram Panchayats are there. Gram Panchayat, all of you know. In North India, it is called Gram Panchayat. In Malayalam, we make it as Grama Panchayat. The Grama Panchayats have earlier been working in Kerala. Kerala, this local self-government has been very active earlier, but all over India, it has been compelled by the 74th and 75th Amendment by Rajiv Gandhi. The Grama Panchayat has been established in every panchayat in India. You know that in Kerala we have got 9. Sorry, I had a casualty. The hand touched the phone and the connection was lost. Okay, now we are back onto it. So you didn't ask my question. The question was, the district collector is reporting to which department? Nobody has given it. No one? Somebody has put it. Vigneshwaran has put it. Bhushmala has put it. Yes, right. The district collector is reporting to the revenue secretary of the government. It is under the revenue department. And the revenue secretary is reporting to revenue minister. Okay, that is the arrangement. Right. Now we will see something about, we are talking about the plans, the government machinery, plans, etc. for controlling disaster. And this slide gives a write up on Disaster Management Act. You read it. I'll be asking some questions. This is called DMA, NDMA 2005, National Disaster Management Act 2005. Read this slide. I'm going to ask some questions specific to specific people. I want you all to read it. Fatima Nasreen, when was the Disaster Management Act effective from? Disaster Management Act came effective from when? Fatima Nasreen. Disaster Management Act was passed by the Parliament of India. When was it effective from? Which date? Which date? From which date it became effective? Fatima Nasrin, can you hear me? You have put something in chat box. Yes, Fatima Nasrin has written 1st August 2007. You are right. Okay, agreed. So you have read it. Let me check whether the others are also reading it. Kirtana, in how many states of India the Disaster Management Act is enforced? In how many states of India? Kirtana K. In how many states of India the Disaster Management Act is enforced? Kirtana is very right. It is in the whole of India. Now there are 29 states in India and plus union territories. 29 states plus union territories. Union territory means ഞാൻ ക്ലാസ്സിലാണ്, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് അങ്ങോട്ട് വിളിക്കാം. So there are 29 states in India and many union territories. Any of you know any union territory in India? Union territory is directly administered by the government of India. The administration of union territory is directly by India. There is a union territory inside Kerala. Anybody knows that?
Mahi.
Yes. ആരാ പറഞ്ഞേ? I couldn't see the name.
Sir,
ആരാ
Megha.
മാഹി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞേ?
Megha.
Megha. Okay. Good, Megha. Mahi. In Malayalam, we call it as Mayyeri. Mahi is actually the Portuguese name. Malayalam, we call as Mayyeri. There is a very famous novel by Mugundan, Mayyeri Pudayada Thirangal. Yes. Mahi is a union territory, but it is not an independent territory. It is attached to Pondicherry. Okay. Now, the disaster management is being done at different levels, I said. National level, state level, district level, and local level. Local level means either the block level or the panchayat level or the village level. Actually, panchayat is coming under the local self-government department. Village is coming under the revenue department. Both are different departments. And panchayat is as per the Panchayat Raj Act, but village is in the revenue department for tax collection and all. Land and such things come under village. Buildings come under panchayat. See, very interesting. Licenses come under panchayat, but land tax comes under village. Okay, these are our two different systems, two different ministers also. In Kerala, for example, the house tax you are paying to the panchayat, which comes under local self-government department, Tadesha Swayambharana Vagupu. And the village comes under district collector, village comes under Tahsildar, Tahsildar under sub-collector, sub-collector under collector, collector under revenue secretary under revenue minister. That's the system. Okay. And the national level, based on the National Disaster Management Act, we have formed what is called the National Disaster Management Authority. I told you, NDMA stands for both National Disaster Management Act 2005 plus the authority. Authority means it's an agency. Authority means an agency formed by the government of India. They are the extreme authority in India for any disaster management because it is chaired by the Prime Minister. The chairperson of the National Disaster Management Authority is the Prime Minister of India. Then below them, that authority is very small numbers only. Authority may not have more than 7 numbers, but under the authority, there is what is called a National Executive Committee that will be having more government secretaries in it. And even outside that, there is what is called a National Advisory Committee. Advisory Committee will be mostly having experts. For example, many of the well-known experts in this area will be included, and there will be a special committee. There is an expert from Kerala in this committee. He's a very famous expert from Kutanad, Alipura, and he's a world-renowned authority on agriculture. He has been there in the National Disaster Management Authority for a long time. Anybody knows his name? He was in the advisory committee. Right now, whether he is there, I am not sure. He is the world-renowned agricultural expert. He is from Alipura, but now staying in Chennai. He was in charge of the Food and Agriculture Organization worldwide, and he is called as the father of Green Revolution in India. Anybody knows him? There were 5 revolutions, great revolutions in India: White Revolution, Green Revolution, Blue Revolution, Pink Revolution,
M.S.
Brown
Swaminathan, sir.
Yes. Who told that? ഇതൊന്ന് കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. ആരാ പറഞ്ഞത്? Megha is having a lot of general knowledge. Very good. M.S. Swaminathan. He is basically from Alappuzha, but now staying at Chennai. And his daughter, I forgot his name, she is the World Health Organization chief now. She's a medical hand. She's a medical hand, and Dr. Swaminathan is basically from agricultural field, and he is the father of green revolution in India. Out of the 5 revolutions, 2 revolutions have been headed by Malayalis. One is M.S. Swaminathan, who headed the green revolution. You know who is the other? The white revolution was headed by a person from Kerala, from Kottayam. You know his name? Anybody? Anybody? Who headed the white revolution? What do you understand by white revolution? Green revolution means increasing food production. Similarly, white revolution means what? White revolution stands for what?
Milk,
If
sir,
green
milk.
revolution is for
Dairy, sir.
milk. Yes, yes, very good, milk. So who was the person who headed that in India?
വർഗീസ് കുര്യൻ അങ്ങനെ എന്തോ അല്ലേ സർ?
Yes, yes, Varghese Kurian. Definitely Varghese Kurian. He has written a very interesting autobiography. You'll be thrilled to read it. I too had a dream. That is the name of that book. I too had a dream. If at all you get a chance, it's a very highly motivating book. He has made a small village in Gujarat called Anand. He has made that village to be the headquarters of the milk production, and he established the Amul. And Amul is the biggest milk and milk products manufacturing company in India even today. And that made the milk revolution all over the country. That started the cooperative movement in milk sale and production. So he was a leader. Okay. He's no more. But M.S. Swaminathan is still there. He's very aged, but Varghese Kurian is not there. Okay. So National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA, Prime Minister is a chairman. Then it has got 9 members nominated by the chairman. They'll be mostly government officials. NDMA is a government body. But the advisory council will have so many experts. Then one among the members will be nominated as vice chairman. The vice chairman of the NDMA will be having cabinet rank. Cabinet rank means facilities like the cabinet minister will be given to them. That is a cabinet rank. Say, for example, in Kerala also, many officials are given cabinet rank. Cabinet rank, say, for example, I don't know whether you have seen, last year when we had a function, Sri M.C. Dattan came. M.C. Dattan was the advisor to the chief minister. Now he is the mentor science in Kerala. He is given a cabinet rank. Cabinet rank means he will have all the privileges and facilities given to a cabinet minister. He is in our governing council. Last week, we had the governing council of Ahilya School of Engineering and Technology, and M.C. Dattan is a member in our governing council. He has given so many suggestions, and he is given a cabinet rank. Okay. Then, what are the powers and functions of Disaster Management Authority, National Disaster Management Authority? They are the apex body in India on disaster management. They prepare the national plan and approves it. Like the Planning Commission of India was there earlier. Planning Commission was there in India. Similarly, in the state, there was Planning Board, State Planning Board. State Planning Board has got different committees with expertise in different areas. Similarly, the National Planning Commission, now it is, it is almost dissolved. The Planning Commission was Nehru's invention. That has done all the 5-year plans in Kerala. Now the Planning Commission is being dissolved and alternate mechanism is being brought in. But NDMA is still there. National Disaster Management Authority is still there, headed by the Prime Minister. And the Planning Commission also was earlier headed by the Prime Minister. And it had a vice chairman, another person of a rank of cabinet minister. But NDMA fix up all the national plans. What should be done, how it should be done, all these things will be fixed by the NDMA. NDMA will have representatives from different ministries, and all the orders of the NDMA are applicable to all the departments. Say, for example, in the state level, I told the disaster management group is there at the state level, and additional chief secretary is given the rank, and all the orders coming from that disaster management cell of the state government is applicable to all the department, whether it is education department or health department or revenue department. See, for example, whenever there is a confusion as to what is to be done, whether the college is closed or open, nowadays I always see the website of the state disaster management cell. They will give the orders by evening. So next day we follow that. Last week also I had to check that to see whether the staff should be asked to come to college or not. Then the order came saying that only for essential purposes, staff teachers have to come to college. So we adopted that. Now it is running like that. Now only one day every week each teacher has to come to do the essential work. Remaining days they can take the class from home. That is as per the state disaster management cell. They have ordered like that. Okay. And they have also ordered that students should not be permitted to come to college. So you are not permitted to come to college. So disaster management cell at the state level is also having the same power. It is binding upon the police, the excise, the revenue, the forest, the education. All ministries have to comply with them. Similar is the case when at national level. In earlier days, only 1 week or so in the year, their power was there. But now this pandemic is going on continuously. They are powerful every day, and they are the people to enforce the policy and plan for disaster management. Only because this pandemic is there. Otherwise, only when a hurricane is coming or a flood is coming, they will have some role. After that, it is over. Once the storm is gone, their power is gone. But now they're having continued power. The Disaster Management Act and the state and central disaster management agencies do have unlimited powers now. Okay. Unlimited powers in the sense even spending power, they have got unlimited power. In case of emergency, they can spend extra. All other departments have got audit, internal audit. But certain departments like the military, the defense ministry doesn't have audit. They don't have to convince everybody why they purchased the thing. Similarly, the election department, they don't have audit. Similarly, the disaster management authority, no audit. Whenever they feel like they can spend because they are all spending for emergency purpose. Similarly, the disaster management authority can help other countries also. You know that 8 crores of vaccine vials have been given by India to other countries because we never expected that a second wave will come. We thought that the vaccines will be excess. So Modi gave 8 crores of vaccines to outside. Then only the second wave came. So we were not having vaccines. So maybe now thinking that was a foolish decision. Our people could have been vaccinated. But it so happened then people didn't even, medical hands were saying that that disease is almost vanished. But now it won't happen because now people are warning that the next wave will come in July. So be prepared. Yesterday there was in the news that the Delta Plus variety of the COVID virus is more powerful and will affect younger people. So far, only senior people like us were worried about. But hereafter, you should be more worried about. It will affect younger people, the Delta Plus variety. Okay? Maybe each virus is having its own target and it will take up that target. So similarly, the disaster management authority has to make the capacity building. If flood comes, what to do? You know that in Israel, every house has got an underground bunker in Israel, so that whenever a bombing or fighting is taking place, they go inside the bunker and are secure there. Only rarely these bunkers can be broken by bombs and shells. The upper part of the house may be even broken and removed, but these bunkers which are inside, they're having very strong steel doors and all. They will stay safe. That is how Israelis protect themselves. So that is their disaster management policy. They are protected. Israel, of course, population is very less. I think if my memory is right, only 1.5 crores people are there. Less than half of the population of Kerala. And the entire area is less than half of that of Kerala. So they protect themselves. They are very, very wise people. And they are supposed to be the wisest people in the world. Because out of all the Nobel Prizes which were given, 40% were taken away by the Jews. Similarly, out of the 10 books which changed the world, 8 of them were written by them. And most of the world visionaries, including Albert Einstein, Charles Darwin, Charles Darwin, of course, heritage was there, that's all. Albert Einstein, then Karl Marx, they're all belonging to that community there. Okay. So the Jews, they have got a peculiar nature of thinking beyond the possibilities. Even now, they are the most wise people in the world. Whatever we say, they are surviving by their brain. Otherwise, they would have been killed off. Hitler has killed around 60 lakhs Jews, but still they have come up like the phoenix bird. Okay. Now there is a National Executive Committee. I told that the National Disaster Management Agency will have, the National Disaster Management Authority will have a bigger body called the National Executive Committee. National Executive Committee will have mostly government secretaries. And that will is chaired by the Secretary of the MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. Ministry of Home Affairs Secretary will be chairing the National Executive Committee and representatives of all other ministries. In Government of India, there are around 100 ministries. So most of the ministries, if it is not relevant, say for example, the Ministry of Culture need not be there in disaster management. The Ministry of Literature need not be there. But all other ministries which are concerned with the well-being of the people, their representative will be there in the Disaster Management Authorities Executive Committee, National Executive Committee. And there will be secretaries of agriculture, atomic energy, drinking water, defense, environment, forests, finance, health, power, rural development, space, urban development, water resources, then defense, telecommunications, etc. They'll be all members. So it is just like, the disaster management authorities like the cabinet, then executive committee will be like the assembly, bigger one. Okay. For example, in state level, we have got a cabinet. The cabinet has got 20 ministers and one speaker. And that's the cabinet. Of course, speaker is not in the cabinet, he is excess. 20 ministers are there. And then assembly is there. So that cabinet, state cabinet, if you take as the NDMA, the assembly which has got 140 members, that is going to be the executive committee, like that. Like that is the distribution. But assembly is not an executive committee. Assembly is only legislative. But I'm just comparing the strength with respect to that. And then, what are the functions of the National Executive Committee? See, National Executive Committee, I think I can compare the NDMA and NEC like to the CPM. CPM is having a Central Politburo and then a Central Committee. Central Politburo is equivalent to NDMA, and Central Central Committee is like the NEC, National Executive Committee. National Executive Committee has got all the government secretaries. So it is more of a body where discussions and decisions are taken, which has to be approved by the National Disaster Management Authority. NDMA is chaired by Prime Minister, so its meetings will be very short. Whereas NEC is a bigger body comprising of government secretary and experts. So that will have longer discussions. So these people make the rules and the NDMA accepts it. And disaster management plans and guidelines, these people prepare. The National Executive Committee, they prepare and they submit to the Prime Minister. They are called DM plans, disaster management plans. Then all these things like lockdowns, Government of India lockdown, that is suggested by the NEC. Similarly, the river water sharing, preparedness for floods and storms and hurricanes. These are all decided by the NEC and submitted to the NDMA for approval. NDMA is the apex body. Then all the activities of the different ministries are observed by NEC. At the time of a pandemic or at the time of a flood or at the time of a storm or hurricane or cyclone or tsunami, we need a lot of decisions to be taken. So this executive committee will suggest to the NDMA and decide on that. In case there is an emergency situation, NEC cannot meet, the NDMA or in very rare cases, the Prime Minister himself will take the decision and communicate to others. And they prepare all the state governments for whenever, say, a cyclone is coming to Odisha, the NEC will advise the state government to take proper remedial action. So NEC is the most responsible body. Though NDMA is the authority, NEC is the most responsible body. Okay. Then they have got definite functions. They do interact with the state authorities. For example, NDMA chairman is the Central Minister for Home Affairs, MHA, Home Affairs. So he will be discussing with the state. I told that the state government, there is a disaster management authority headed by the additional chief secretary. So this additional chief secretary will be contacting the chairman of the NEC for any direct instruction. When a flood is coming or when earthquake is coming or when pandemic is progressing, he consult the NEC chairman for advice, not the prime minister. Prime minister is the NDMA chairman, but prime minister will not be accessible easily to all these secretaries. But the MHA secretary is a senior most IAS official. He will be available, and he, on behalf of the NEC, will advise the state governments to take proper action, and he will assist the state authorities, and he will give advice and procedures for spreading the disaster management awareness. In every disaster, awareness is the most important. Say in a disaster like pandemic, COVID, awareness is the most important thing, not medicine. Even now, there is no real medicine, though medicine is proposed to be coming from the Defense Department, Defense Development and Research Agency. So, but it is not even public now. Very, very limited medicines have come up. Vaccine, of course, vaccine is now very popular. So, which vaccine to choose, how to choose, all these things, instruction will be given by the National Executive Committee of Disaster Management to the State Disaster Management Cell. And on all matters of such concern, this NEC is the authority at national level. And if there is anything to be overtaken by the NOC, that the NDMA, chaired by Prime Minister, can overtake, but very rarely, because NEC is an expert committee, whereas NDMA is a high power committee, need not be an expert committee. Prime Minister need not be an expert on medical things or climate change or cyclones or something like that. And then next level is there is a National Advisory Committee. Advisory Committee will be experts, well-known experts in engineering, medicine, agriculture, etc. will be the national experts. These experts have no authority, but they will be formed into an advisory committee. Advisory committee's role is to advise the government. I still remember when I was staying at Tirunelveli for 7-8 years, I was put in many of the advisory committees to the government, even for the planning board, etc. But the advisory committee doesn't have any authority to take action. But advisory committee can give the suggestion to the government. This is to be done, because advisory committee is mostly experts. If it's a state level advisory committee, it will be the best experts available in the state. If it's a national level advisory committee, that will be, in addition to this, even exclusive advisors may be there for the prime minister. That is also possible. For example, APJ Abdul Kalam was the defense advisor to the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. So Indira Gandhi used to consult Dr. Kalam for any step on defense. Like that is also possible. Say for disaster management, the Prime Minister can have a special advisor, but now nobody is there because NEC is very active. So NEC takes decisions based on advice. Now for the pandemic, in the advisory committee, so many well-known virologists may be there, so many well-known physicians may be there, so many well-known agriculturalists and such people may be there. All these people constitute what is called the advisory committee. So advisory committee gives suggestions to the NEC, NEC gives decisions to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister will approve it normally. This is the procedure. And at the state level, we have got a State Disaster Management Authority. I told you, State Disaster Management Authority is there. Normally, it will be headed by State Disaster Management Authority. The chairman is the Chief Minister. The executing official will be the State Executive Committee, which is headed by a senior government secretary. That government secretary will be a member of the SDMA also normally. SEC, the State Executive Committee of the Disaster Management Activity, will be the will be a government secretary seniorly. That is why I told an additional chief secretary. But he may be also there in the state disaster management authority, which is chaired by the chief minister. But in Kerala, unlike in other states, what you have seen is the chief minister is directly involving. In many of the states, the chief ministers are letting the IAS officers to deal everything. But as a special case in Kerala, the chief minister is directly involving. The chief minister is giving press release, press meetings, etc. Whereas in no other state that habit is there. Maybe special to Kerala. And state is having an advisory committee to advise the executive committee. Okay, this advisory committee will be experts in flood, experts in hydrology, experts in forest, experts in engineering. Like that, so many experts will be there. So I told that the State Disaster Management Authority Chief Minister is the chairperson. There will be 8 other members. Some of them may be even ministers. For example, we have the Health Minister and the Revenue Minister, etc., in the Disaster Management Authority. And chairman of the State Executive Committee is the ex officio member. That also I told. A senior IAS officer will be normally the member and chief executive officer. So in his name, all the orders come. Orders are not coming in the name of ministers. Orders always come in the names of officials. So this chief executive officer is a higher level IAS officer. And the chairman may designate the vice chairman from among the members. So vice chairman will chair the meeting in the absence of chief minister. I think in Kerala, the vice chairman is the revenue minister, I think. I'm yet to verify. Earlier it was. Now who is the vice chairman, I'm not sure, because now the new government has come up. No. Earlier it used to be a convention that on disaster management, the chief minister, of course, by government law, it is chief minister is the chairperson. The revenue minister is supposed to be the vice chairperson. Now whether there is any change, I'm yet to verify. So I think today's time is almost over. Now afternoon we have got 1 hour, and tomorrow we have got 1 more hour, and by that we'll finish the portion. And today attendance is very less. It has not crossed to 40. So have everybody got 75% attendance? Because if anybody is not having 75% attendance in my paper, they will not be permitted to write the university exam, the final exam. Even university exam we are conducting, but 75% attendance is compulsory, and I won't dilute it. That 25% is yours and 75% is mine. So no dilution. If anybody, I have past experience where many students couldn't write the final exam because of lack of attendance. Okay, so be careful about that. If anybody has been absent so far, let them not take any risk. They can come and they can join the next 2 sessions, so that at least that attendance they'll get. Okay, so bye for the day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.